Hello, readers. Welcome to another reading lesson with me, Miss Taylor. I'm glad you're here. Alrighty, so let's see. Are we ready for reading? Do we have all of our materials? We have our textbook, we have a bookmark or our finger to follow along and to track as we're reading. Do we have our workbook? Got my workbook here and a pencil. All right. Couple things to remember. We're going to track with our finger or a bookmark. We're going to read each word carefully and we're going to pay attention to end marks. Some of our goals we're going to read with accuracy and expression. We're going to understand what's happening in the story, make connections to characters' feelings, and enjoy the story. And as we've been reading, we're kind of keeping some things in mind, all of these things that are happening as we read. We're making connections to characters, we're visualizing, we're kind of painting a mental picture, imagining what's happening in the story, sort of like a little movie in our mind. We're asking questions, we're wondering, we're summarizing, we're predicting, we're synthesizing, kind of coming up with some new ideas and new thoughts, and we're inferring. So sometimes it doesn't always say what's happening in the story, and we kind of use clues to figure it out. So, like in the last story, in our last lesson, when Umu and Ulak's father saw them playing with Usk, and then Umu put her head down, and it didn't really say, but we can infer, we can figure out by what she was doing that she probably felt kind of ashamed of herself, like, oh, I wasn't supposed to be playing with Usk. So we can kind of infer and figure some things out. All right, so here's our reading lesson. We have a vocabulary sentence, some word lists. Then we have our nonfiction passage, our main story, review items, workbook. We're going to read for 20 minutes. All right. Our new vocabulary sentence is she actually repeated that careless mistake. Can you believe it? Can you believe she did that? All right. So, actually means really. So if she actually repeated that careless mistake, she really repeated it. Okay. And careless is the opposite of careful. So if you do something in a careless way, it's like you didn't put any care into it. You didn't do it carefully. She actually repeated that careless mistake. Can you believe it? All right. So, everyone, what word means the opposite of careful? Careless. What word means, oh, we didn't talk about this, but I bet you know it. What word means you did something again? Repeated. Yeah. And what word means really? Actually. Nice job. All right, let's go to our word list for today. We'll scoot Miss Taylor out of the way here. Okay, so our word list for today, we have 4 columns of words. Let's look at column number 1. Please follow along with me with your finger or a bookmark in your book. Word 1 is numb. What word? When part of your body gets numb, you don't have any feeling in that part. So it's sort of like sometimes if your foot falls asleep, if you're sitting on your foot funny and then it falls asleep and it gets kind of numb and you can't feel it anymore. Or if you're out in the cold and maybe you get so cold, like you can't feel the little tips of your fingers. You're like, oh, my fingers are numb. I better go inside and have some hot chocolate. Word 2 is shrink. What word? So things that get smaller now shrink. And things that got smaller yesterday shrank. So it's kind of the past tense of the word shrink. All right, word 3 is ridge. What word? Word 4 is sliced. What word? Word 5 is cliff. What word? And word 6 is itch. What word? All right, let's try the fast way. Numb, shrank, ridge, sliced, cliff, itch. All right, nice work. Let's go to column 2. And in column 2, all of these words have an ending. So let's be careful with these words. Word 1 is grinding. What word? So when two hard things rub together, they grind and they make like a grinding noise. You were kind of scratching two hard things together. Word 2 is glanced. What word? If you glance at something, you look at it quickly. So if you glanced out the window, just a quick look. Word 3 is punishment. What word? Ooh, I think maybe someone might get some punishment in this story. Word 4 is swarming. What word? Ooh, the bugs are swarming. Word 5 is nicer. What word? And word 6 is speckled. What word? All right, let's try the fast way. Grinding, glanced, punishment, swarming, nicer, speckled. Nice job. And column 3. Word 1 is groans. What word? Word 2 is creaks. What word? Word 3 is mosquitoes. What word? Word 4 is no-see-ums. What word? And in the last story, we read about how no-see-ums are these teeny tiny biting insects, sort of like teeny tiny flies or teeny tiny mosquitoes called no-see-ums. Alrighty, in column 4, word 1 is ignore. What word? Word 2 is enter. What word? Word 3 is sloshing. What word? Word 4 is fourth. What word? And word 5 is schoolyard. What word? Nice job. All right. Let's go ahead and look at part B. And part B starts on page 79. So we're on page 79. And let's see. We have some facts about killer whales. Oh, there it is. Part B. Taylor was like, where's part? There it is. Okay, part B, facts about killer whales. You'll be reading more about killer whales. Here are facts about killer whales. Killer whales are about 12 meters long. You stretch your arms out as far as they go. That's 1 meter. It's about 1 meter. So 12. 12 of these. Stretch your arms out. 12. Oh my goodness. Most other whales are much longer than killer whales. So killer whales are about 12 meters long. So about 12 of your, if you stretched out your arm, you can't really see now, but stretch your arms out, that's 1 meter. So 12 of these is a killer whale. But most other whales are bigger than that. So compared to other whales, killer whales are actually small. So it's sort of like killer whales are small whales. But to us, they're very big, aren't they? Killer whales are not fish. Fish are cold-blooded. Whales are warm-blooded, like bears, humans, and dogs. So killer whales are warm-blooded like us. So warm-blooded like people, bears, dogs, cats, horses, cows, other mammals. All right. Let's see. Killer whales are very smart. So they're very smart. Some scientists think that killer whales are smarter than dogs. Killer whales hunt in packs, and that means they hunt in groups. They kill larger whales, polar bears, seals, or any other animal that is in the water. I don't think I would want to be near a pack of killer whales. No thanks. Alrighty, let's find part C in our books. We're on page 79 still. The beach. Part C is called the beach. Umu's father said, "You must stay away from Usk." Then he ordered Umu and Ulak to stay near their summer house for 2 full days. So remember in the last story, they were not really obeying their father and they were playing with Usk. So now it's sort of like they're getting a punishment. Umu and Ulak were not to go down to the beach or on the ice floe or into the hills. Umu's family had just moved into their summer home, which was a tent on a ridge near the ocean. Hmm. So their summer home is a tent. And the tent is on a ridge, kind of a high area of land near the ocean. And from their summer home, you could see the ocean. Their winter home was at the bottom of a cliff right next to the beach. The winter home was a cave dug into the side of the cliff. So their winter home was a cave. I think it's probably warmer inside a cave. So maybe that's why they had their winter home was in a cave. It's warmer. And their summer home is a tent. It's cooler. The screaming winter wind could not get inside the cave. The summer home was much nicer, and it was much larger than the cave. It was made from animal skins. The only problem with the summer home was the bugs. The only problem with the summer home, the bugs. As soon as the snow starts to melt in Alaska, insects come out. Mosquitoes come out in clouds, millions and millions of them. The mosquitoes don't seem to bother the bears or the dogs, but they sure bother humans. There are also biting flies in Alaska. Biting flies look like ordinary flies, but they bite like mosquitoes. They leave red bumps that itch. So as soon as the snow starts to melt in Alaska, the bugs come out. And there are millions of mosquitoes. And biting flies. So they look like regular flies, but they bite like mosquitoes and they leave little red bumps all over. Ooh. All right. So now we're on page 80. Please follow along with me in your textbook. There are other biting flies, very small ones. And there are also little insects so small that you have to look very carefully to see them. They come out when the sun goes down and they bite. Their bite feels like mosquito bites, but they do not leave a red mark. These tiny bugs are called no-see-ums. No-see-ums. My lights just went out. My lights are always going out. So little tiny bugs that bite. No-see-ums. Umu didn't like the bugs, but she managed to ignore them most of the time. And Umu's summer home was in a place where the wind blew hard. When the wind blew, the bugs stayed away. So the wind keeps the bugs away. Umu was being punished, but she really didn't mind sitting there on the hill near her summer home, looking down at the beach. So she's being punished for playing with Usk, but she's like, you know what? It's kind of nice up here, just looking at the beach. The beach was like a circus that had a million different acts. There were acts from the elephant seals. They were swarming on the beach about half a mile from Umu's summer home. Male seals were fighting for the best places on the beach. They were kind of fighting for the best spot on the beach. And those were the male elephant seals. Closer to Umu was another act. 2 walruses were lying on a part of the beach that was speckled with thousands of birds. In the ocean were the killer whales, swimming back and forth just beyond the end of the ice floe. The killer whales were waiting for the seals to enter the water. Killer whales were just waiting for lunch. As Umu watched the killer whales, she remembered a time when she had been very close to them. She had been out in a kayak with her father. It was late spring and the ocean was very calm. Umu's father paddled the kayak past the end of the ice floe. Suddenly, three huge killer whales appeared in the water. The fins of the killer whales sliced through the water as they circled the boat. Then one of the whales lifted its head out of the water and seemed to look right at Umu. The whale opened its mouth, and Umu could see the shiny white row of knives. Ooh. So those knives are the whale's teeth. All right. That would be really frightening, wouldn't it? Can you imagine what that would feel like? The whale was only a few meters from the kayak. It looked at Umu for a few seconds and then slipped back into the water, making a sloshing sound. Umu and her father sat silently in the kayak. Umu was so frightened that her hands were shaking. Then slowly the three killer whales moved away from the kayak. I think my hands would be shaking too. Ah. All right. Please read the rest of the story and get ready to answer some questions. All right. If you're not finished reading, pause the video. Everyone, did what did Umu feel on her arms as she watched the killer whales? Yeah, she got all these goosebumps. So she was thinking about being very close to them. She was remembering when she was in a kayak with her dad and they got close to three killer whales. And what caught her attention and made her stop thinking about those whales? Yeah, there were some birds fighting on the beach. She's like, oh yeah. She's remembering what it felt like to be near those killer whales. Pretty frightening. Ooh. Alrighty. Nice work today, students. Let's see what's next. You're going to read the story on your own. You're going to reread it one more time. And then you're going to answer the questions at the end of the story. And remember, when you are working on your questions at the end of the story, you don't need to write these down, but you should be able to answer all of these questions correctly. And you can look in the assignment to check to see if you've got the correct answers. And then you're going to complete your workbook. Looks like this. We're working on lesson 16 today. And then you are going to submit some pictures for Miss Taylor to check. And then you're going to read for 20 more minutes. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Alrighty, so I will see you again soon. Bye.